Billy, how many injuries did you have in college? It seemed like every couple of weeks when I was covering that team, it was like, oh man, that happened to Billy again. I mean, and I remember the media just, and the media gets called cynical, but we were just really sympathetic to the injuries that you had to deal with.
Oh man, I don't think we have enough time to talk about all those, man.
Well, let me say this. I remember this is something I remember about Billy Ratliffe when he first got on campus, and then I'll talk about your first injury that I remember. Billy Ratliffe walks on the elevator with his family. I'm in the elevator already, and I'm trying to figure out like, man, what position this dude play, right? You know, I'm trying to figure out what everybody plays. And I remember when he said his name, he said Billy Ratliffe. I'm sitting there thinking, that's Billy Ratliffe. That's the linebacker. Like, man, I ain't never seen a linebacker that big in my life. Where in the world? Where am I? I remember we had summer workouts. That's summer workouts with freshman practice. And he was in the linebacker line. I'm sitting there looking like I just got to see him run. I'm supposed to be focused on what I'm doing over here with DBs, but I am looking to see how this big dude is going to run, and does he really play linebacker? And man, let me tell you something. He was like twinkle toes. Seriously. Fast as I'll get out. Biggest linebacker I ever seen. I ain't never seen nobody that big run that fast. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my God, when he hits somebody, it's going to explode. It's going to explode. But I remember watching you do the drills, and I'm thinking, man, if that guy's playing linebacker, hey man, it's gonna be hell for somebody when we play him. Guarantee you that. But I remember the first time you got hurt when you tore your ACL, and I remember being we got the news because the one thing people don't realize is that when a new guy comes in, we come in as freshmen, that's what everybody can look and see your talent. Mm-hmm. And everyone's looking like, man, I can't wait to see him get on the field. You know, that type of stuff. Everybody already know. You know how good guys are because you practice against them every day. And we had a lot of good talent on our squad. When they told Billy he had got injured, I remember he was a little, upset about it. And I'm walking through Stokely. It's no longer there for the young crowd. Stokely was where they played basketball back in the 70s, the Ernie Burney days, but it was also some indoor track stuff they did. The volleyball was there as well. It's really where your parking garage is now for Gibbs Hall. Mm-hmm. But I remember walking by and I see somebody in there and all I can hear is boom, boom, boom. I'm like, man, what is that? So we walk by and we look, and it is Billy Ratliffe blowing off some steam because he tore his ACL, just hammering the goal, just dunking in a 10-foot goal, just boom, boom, windmills, double hammer, double tomahawk, everything. I'm like, hey man, did you just tear your ACL? So, yeah, they told me can't hurt it any worse. I'm thinking to myself, here's a 6'4",
wow,
280-pound linebacker, and he can dunk off the vertical like a 30-something, 40-something inch vertical. I'm like, this is insane. I've never seen anybody tear the ACL and then go do dunks off the vertical like that. I never seen nobody like that in my whole life. To this day, he's one of the best athletes I've ever seen. And I've seen some good ones. Leonard Little was one of them. Travis Cozart is another one. Dante Starworth. I mean, I've seen some hellified line, but athletes. But he's one of the best I've ever seen. One of the best. I talk about him to this day to people like, man, listen, we got defensive linemen. They can run a 4.5, 4.4 40, man, and he played D tackle.
Yeah, and those ACL injuries aren't like they are nowadays, where they're almost routine. I mean, they can just fix them like nothing. That was a big deal. It apparently didn't affect your explosiveness as you were trying to tear down a goal there in Stokely. But how concerned were you at the time about your overall ability, the recovery? I mean, it must have just been heartbreaking.
Well, the early time, no, it wasn't. I mean, I just knew I had to go and rehab and get back out there, and just my determination is what kept me motivated. And and didn't want to let my teammates down. When they're having fun and I'm not, I mean, it just wasn't fun. I mean, it's just me. I mean, I like to have fun. I'm smiling all the time, enjoying life. And when I got hurt, it was just me feeling like a failure. But, having guys like, Fred, Peerless, Jermaine Copeland, Sean Johnson, Sean Bryson, those guys kept me going, man. They didn't let me not have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, they know when I was bored, I tend to just drift off and didn't want to be around anyone. So they kept me motivated and they kept me going. I mean, because those injuries, I mean, I had some tough injuries. My knee injuries, they wasn't as bad as everybody thought they were. My knees never hurt me. They did. They was using precautionaries just to keep me from re-injuring it, I guess. I don't know. But my knees to this day, I mean, they bother me now, but back then they didn't hurt me. I mean, I was in the injury reports because that's what they had to say.
Mm-hmm.
They kept me fresh. My first ACL when I tore it, I mean, it was an easy recovery. Um, because you had Leonard Little recovering with me, so it was easy.
Yeah.
And Phil Crosby, so I was having fun. Um, my worst injury was my career-ending injury. It was my senior year when I broke my ankle and had nerve damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that really, really, really broke my spirit. Especially when it came to the time where they took was going to be taking the cast off and taking the pins out and everything. And that day when it was going to be taking the cast off, got some bad news. And was infected, so I had to have a whole nother surgery. So which pushed me back a whole nother 6, 7 months. And that was the crushing blow for me. And that's when I said, you know what, I gotta let it go and start thinking about the future, being able to walk ever again, and just that was just the crushing moment for me. I mean, I've had some tough ones though, guys. I mean, I've been paralyzed for 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I've done so many things, and those didn't bother me as much as it did my senior year because it was my last year.
Wow. Now,
I got to ask this question because every person, every teammate, I've heard this from another player, NFL guy, kind of talked to me about this kind of mentorship type of thing. But he said that your first 2 years away from playing the game are the toughest because you've done this for so long. This is all you kind of knew. And if you can make it past those 2 years without being depressed, without, you maybe have some depression during those first 2 years, but if you can get past those 2 years, usually you'll be okay, right? So, did it take you long to bounce back, or did it linger a little bit?
I'll be honest, it didn't take long for me, man, because I played it through you guys. When y'all made it to the league, it was a win for me, and watching each one of y'all being successful, it made my heart feel good. And that's what kept me going. I didn't look back and say what it could have been or how it could have been. I just kept going with you guys.
Yeah,
Watching Darwin play, watching Sean play, watching all the guys. I'm like, man, and then getting a chance to come watch them in person, it made it even better.
yeah,
I didn't have I wasn't a fan of a team. I was a fan of my teammates.